back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys! So I'm here today to talk about all of the books that I managed to get through in the month of November, because now it is December, which means Christmas is right around the corner, and I'm so excited because it means time off work, it means presents, it means family, it means a holiday to Sweden for me, which is quite exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. I've got my little Christmas tree earrings on in celebration, and I'm really looking forward to December. So with that in mind, let's wrap up what I read in November, and I'll tell you how I felt about it all. First up, there was a DNF for me, and that was Lab Girl by Hope Jaron. I'd heard great things about this book, and in fairness to the book, it was actually fantastic in some parts. When the scientist Hope was talking about the thing that she was passionate about, which is raising plants and growing them and specialising in them, their development, how to care for them, that was great. Every time that she wrote about plants, I was enthralled because her writing, it's lyrical, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. However, this is not just a story of plants, it's also her life, and that is interwoven with her kind of analogies from plant life. And I just felt like I could not connect to the biographical part of this. I just didn't find it interesting. I did not find her interesting, and I really struggled with that. So I did DNF this. I was about 200 pages and it's only about 280, I think. So I was quite close to the end, but I got bored and I was forcing myself to read it, so I just gave up. Next up, I read a graphic novel called 18 Days. I've already done a graphic novel wrap up for the month because I did Getting Graphic this month. So if you want to see my wrap up where I talk about all of the graphic things and show you the pictures, then I'll link that below, but I gave that one 2 stars. I then read Beneath the Silver Rose, which I gave a 2.75. This is one of the SPFBO titles and it's the final batch, so I'll link my review where I wrapped up all of the SPFBO titles, and then I've also since chosen my winner, so if you haven't seen those videos I will link them below and you can go watch them, but this one got a 2.75. I also read The Character Vault, which got 3 stars as part of Getting Graphic. Crystal Cadets also got 3 stars. The Morning They Came For Us by Janine Di Giovanni got 3 stars as well from me. It's a non-fiction about Syria told from the point of view of lots of different people who were interviewed by this reporter. It's a bit of a mismatch and it feels like it's kind of disjointed, so I didn't love it, but it was still a very important and likeable read in places, and it's quite heartbreaking in some areas too, just to warn you, but I gave it 3 stars in the end. I then decided I wanted some more light-hearted fun books, so I read No Good Dragon Goes Unpunished. This one is the 3rd book in the series. It's an urban fantasy which is full of nasty dragons and one nice dragon trying to prove his way in the world. There's also a mage and it's a whole lot of fun. I'll be doing a review of these 2 in the series very soon, but I've already talked about the first few. It's a great series and I love it. I then read One by One, which is by Phil Tucker. I gave this a 3.5 as well, and it was an SPFBO one, so I've wrapped it up already. And then the reason I've read less this month, I think, is down to this book, which is humongous. It is Brandon Sanderson's book number 3 in the Stormlight Archive series, Oathbringer. I didn't love this, guys. Sorry to everyone who does. I am in fact a huge Brandon Sanderson fan myself, but this book kind of was a bit of a letdown for me. It didn't feel like it was as good as the others in the series. I'll be doing a full review talking about this one, but suffice to say I gave it a 3.5 and not the 5 stars I was hoping to give it. I'll tell you more in my review. Next up, I read Lazarus Volume 5 and I gave this one a 4 stars. I then read The Book of Dust by Philip Pullman and gave that one 4 stars too. I have reviewed this, so you can check out my review for that one. I'll link it below. And then book number 2 in the series by Rachel Aaron that I read got a slightly higher rating than book 3, and that is One Good Dragon Deserves Another, which I gave 4 stars. Also this month I had backed a Kickstarter for a new book by Michael J Sullivan in his Rieria series, the Rieria Chronicles, and this new book is called The Disappearance of Winter's Daughter. It is book number 4 in the Rieria Chronicles series. He's already given out the ebooks to people who backed the book, so I read this in ebook form, but I have actually ordered a physical edition, so hopefully that will arrive soon. I don't know how long it's going to take to get to me from America, but hopefully it'll arrive soon. I really enjoyed this. I love the Rieria Chronicles and the Rieria Revelation series. got a 4 stars from me. Next up, I read The Accusation by Bandy, which is a collection of short stories all about North Korea, and they're written by someone who is still living in North Korea today. They managed to smuggle their stories out of the country, and it's a really, really interesting interpretation because it is a fictional collection, which I wasn't sure on, but it is deeply, deeply rooted in the realities and the harsh, absolute terrifying conditions of living in North Korea today. It was brutal, it was violent, it was heart-wrenching and beautiful, and it was tragic, and it is horrifying that this is the reality that some people are still today living. But it was fantastic to read about, such an important book, and I gave it a solid 4 stars. Also, for Getting Graphic, I read Monstrous Volume 2 and gave it a 4.5, slightly less than the first volume, but I think it explains a lot more and the illustration is stunning, so definitely worth checking out. It's Coldmaker by Daniel A. Cohen, and this book is the first in a new series by this author. It's published by Harper Voyager, very recent release that I found when I went to Bath. I asked for some fantasy recommendations when I was in Mr. B's book Emporium, and the booksellers gave me lots of recommendations, most of which I'd already read, but this one they mentioned I'd not heard of yet because it was a very new release, and I'm so glad they pointed it out to me because it was exactly what I was looking for at the time. It is a fast-paced fantasy with a fantastic concept in the world. It's set in a world where everything is so crazily hot that the rivers boil, there is desert everywhere, nothing grows, and yet there are tiny little patches of cold that fall down from the sky and have to be collected by the slaves of this world called Jadens, and we follow a young character who is a Jaden and is a slave, and we follow him as he tries his best to understand why the world is so very unfair and try and kind of get on with his life. But quickly a young lady comes into things and she really starts messing the system up, and everything goes a bit to pot from there. It was exactly the kind of book I wanted to read. It was innovative in the idea, the concept was fresh, the characters were fun and likeable right from the start. It's told in first person, so it's very easy to get into, and I just adored it, and I think more people definitely need to pick this one up. I'll be doing a full review of this one really soon, so look out for that, but I hope that I've got you interested in it because it was just great. Far from the Tree by J Sullivan. This is a non-fiction book that I was reading as part of the Welcome Book Prize project that Eleanor and I are doing. We will be talking about this in January sometime because we delayed by 1 month because of Christmas, but we will be doing a live show to discuss this and one other book. I loved this. It was a beautiful, really interesting, really insightful book all about different neurological conditions, psychological conditions, disabilities and more. It was just fantastic. So interesting, so well researched, so methodical, really heart-wrenching, absolutely eye-opening, very informative. It was great in all senses of the word, and I definitely would like to buy a copy to put on my shelf. It was fantastic, and I audiobooked this and would thoroughly recommend the audiobook. It's a huge, great book. It took a long time to get through, but once I started it, I found that I was completely hooked into the stories of these people and their realities and their situations. It's a non-fiction that deals with about 8 different topics, I think, from Asperger's through to autism, through to dwarfism, through to children who are born through sexual assault. There is a lot in this book and it is fantastic. I thoroughly urge you to go and read my Goodreads review because I've talked about it a lot there, but I will be reviewing this with Eleanor in a live show soon, and of course I gave it 5 stars. I would thoroughly recommend it. I feel like I read slightly less in November because some of the books were absolutely monstrously huge, but I'm happy with everything I read and I'm really looking forward to reading in December. I'm not going to be doing a TBR for December, although there is one book I know I will definitely be reading because it's a buddy read. Everything else I'm just leaving up to fate because I recently did a massive clear out of all the books on this shelf, my TBR shelf, so that now it's a lot less books than it was. I think I got rid of about half of my TBR books because it was just getting to a silly point where I couldn't even see what I had because there were so many books on this bookshelf. So I got rid of an awful lot. I donated them all to charity, and now I can see everything I have on my shelf. I'm really excited about all of it. So I think my plan for December, and possibly for later in the next year as well, I haven't fully decided, is to just focus on doing projects rather than TBRs. I'm not certain what the projects are going to be yet, but I kind of want to do something like reading through the alphabet or something like reading through certain colours. I'm not exactly certain what I want to do, but basically I don't want to give myself a TBR this month, and I'm not sure how many TBRs I'll be doing next year. I'm going to see how I go. I do enjoy them, but I find that sometimes they just make me feel a bit restricted, so I want to give myself the freedom this month to just read whatever I like and then see how it goes. So far it's working really well, and I've read some great things this month that have been really fun. I will definitely give you an update on what I've been reading, but do let me know in the comments below what you've read in the month of November and what you're planning to read in December. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.